something that I did want to get to a little bit before that I didn't actually get a chance to speak about, and I spoke with Jojo about her new blog, and I'm super excited that we've been talking about it for a while. She has been getting everything set up. She's been preparing some of these pieces from some pieces that she had written before, and she's continuing writing. Apparently, she's just cranking out the hits, which is shocking to me because I'm sitting over here, looking at my channel like, yo, Chainsaw, you gotta get the fucking work, bro. So JoJo has just been cranking out the fucking hits, and I'm super impressed with that. And she actually wrote a piece, and she, because I mentioned to her, I'm like, look, one of your LTEs, the letters to the editor, I want to, kind of showcase and go over on the show. I wanted to make that like a whole thing, and she hit me up a couple of days ago, and was like, yo, don't worry about that. I got something for you that'll knock your fucking socks off. So let's take a look here. And I'll go ahead and post the reference link here because she does have this at Jojo Beans mo.wixsite.com. I'll go ahead and create the extension. So you by the end of the stream, I'll link it out so you can find it at the whole blog. You'll be able to find it chainsawccc.com/Jojo, and it will take you directly to her blog. You can check out all of her hits that she's been cranking out, and a bunch more. I'll leave that link to be permanent for JoJo. So whenever you do see this, awesome. All right, let's check it out. So she posted this 3 days ago, so I guess it was about 3 days she hit me up here. Let me see if I can zoom that in just a little bit. Folks at home. All right. Jason has to go. People do not seem to realize that their opinion of the world is also a confession of character. Ralph Waldo Emerson. When we think of a person's character, what comes to mind first? Is it their flowery words, or is it their immediate action toward others that happen to live on in the world? Or do we need only to see the mask that folks like to masquerade around in pretending to be good people? Well, I feel attacked here. Let's take a minute to discuss our congressional U.S. representative of District 8 and to the party of nay extraordinaire, Jason Smith. Yes, I've previously written a few letters to the editor for the local about this man that is supposed to represent us on the national stage, but it's fair to say that they do not serve the justice that he rightly deserves. Let's dig into what shining achievements Jason has done for our district. Well, in his state house tentative stint, the major accomplishment that can actually he claim is he is the youngest ever to be elected to the state legislative body in Missouri, and helped to pave the way for the current policies that are wreaking havoc on our state's poor constituents. This man has had his little hands into about everything this state runs on, from the Agricultural Policy Committee to the Judiciary Committee. Now, folks might not think those two type of things are important, but given the fact that Jason is also set on the Education Committee and the Appropriations Committee, it's clear that he helped put our state agencies and schools on their knees to the point that they're so underfunded that they can no longer work as they should. In other words, he didn't work for his constituents while in the Missouri State House, and that hasn't changed since moving to the U.S. title. It could be argued that Jason and his ilk have been trying to make Missouri ground zero for what could be considered a dystopia, a wet dream come true since 2005. Now, am I saying that it's all his fault? No. Because for a place to become a disaster, it takes more than just one person to get that kind of work. But it does illuminate how long the ultra-conservative fringe framework has been in place in this state, which has led our once progressive purple state to the dismal abyss of nothingness and destitution. And this leads to his career as the U.S. representative. It's by far more flashy than his handiwork in Missouri's legislation. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe she actually posted, some of the dichotomy with regard to our districts and our voting history over the last 20 years on Twitter. So you can, if you're following JoJo, check that out. To be perfectly clear, Jason should be called the U.S. representative of the party of nay, considering his voting record. He's voted against anything that would raise our district out of impoverishment, from voting against our vet population, which is 70,000 people, to bringing in manufacturing plants for jobs. But I'll get into that right after we discuss how he meddled in guttering Prop B back in 2011. Prop B was a voter-approved law that was targeting the inhumane practices of CAFO, AFO, and puppy mills. I knew we were going to go there. Of course, this was around the same time when the Humane Society's Dirty Dozen list was published, too. For Jason, this list was problematic because his mother had been named on the Humane Society's Dirty Dozen list of the worst dog breeders in the state. And that's true. I discussed this a little bit on a previous segment whenever I discussed some of the politics happening here in the state of Missouri, and Randy McCallion's new ad, or I guess it was a few weeks old ad now, that actually mentioned this, and some of the research that, because I'm like, hey, is this even true? Is it political? Randy McCallion says it's true, but is this true? Yeah, it's fucking true, folks. It's fucking terrifying. It's worth a Google. Don't take my word for it. Watch the video if you want to. It's on the channel, but chainsawccc.com/YouTube where you can subscribe. But, Google it yourself. I think you'll be as shocked as I was. The scandal should have ended his political career. Most of us would have been mortified if our kin was named on that list, or on a list that dubbed their businesses as one of the worst in an entire state. Never mind, it had reached the levels of the national stage. But not Jason. Nope, he doubled down on lobbying to gut Prop B, which was overwhelmingly passed by Missourians, because we care about our animals. Keep in mind that this law would have put her business out of business with the regulations this law called for. Of course, moleg decided that voters didn't matter and overrode the process to get this bill amended to their liking because of the damage it would do to big ag and production practices, right? Ultimately, Jason was trying to contain the scandal that involved his mom's puppy farm and navigate the waters of lobbying for Prop B to be gutted for their own self-interest, no doubt. And it turned into more of the same of the politics of Missouri, or of moleg, and at the state level. Corrupt and designed for a select few and not the average Missourian at the end of the day. This sounds like some of that Amendment 3 shit we were talking about earlier. I'm just saying, folks. Keep in mind all these shining achievements of Jason's were all while he was in moleg, Missouri legislation. And that brings us to his stratagems. While sitting in the U.S. Congressional House of Representatives, Jason joined the U.S. House after running during the special elections of 2013, and since then has managed to get one bill called Expanding Seniors Receiving Dialysis Choice Act. I will give him credit for that, but his more notable actions in the House didn't start until 2015, when he made some infectious comments about Obergefell v. Hodges being unconstitutional, despite the fact that we're all entitled to the pursuit of happiness. And the Constitution actually says that in big, bold letters. Who's fucking surprised, this guy? Then in 2017, when the Affordable Care Act, he once again showed the world that common sense doesn't grow on everyone's garden by making a random comment during a debate about a tan salon tax. I actually missed that. What I found on Google is roughly 80% of who's taxed is women. Today is International Women's Day. It's interesting, no one is bringing that up. What? He continued, you look at the number one cause of skin cancer, it's the sun. So I've noticed the people over here haven't found too many taxes they dislike. So why have they not proposed a tax on the sun? Yes, he really said that on the floor of a congressional debate. While it's, oh, fuck me. Oh my God. Come on, guy. I don't feel so bad for not stopping and so I drove by one of his signs and, I guess the wind had knocked it all upside down and crazy. I almost stopped, and was going to fix the guy's sign, because that's kind of shitty. Poor guy, running for office, might be a douchebag, but his sign's all fucked up. I don't know. It just kind of looks bad. But, I had fucking milk in the car and shit to do, and I'm like, I don't feel so bad. dumbass. Must have been the son who fucked his sign up. So, while it's true that women suffer a pink tax and our products are more expensive than men's in general, made this constituents look like a bunch of bumbling fools. And apparently those who would vote for this guy may be. That's not in the article, that's just me. And to be honest, I think it's more of a reflection of how he wants to portray the folks that he's supposed to be representing. It's also important to point out that in 2016, Jason had his hand in writing and passing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act under the Trump administration. You know, the big tax cut that either caused people to pay more in taxes or didn't affect anyone that doesn't have a bank account of at least 6 figures. That kind of sounds like the special session Mike Parson be putting out. I'm just saying. It comes from somewhere, folks. He didn't have his constituents in mind with that law as much as his own self-interest, as he directly benefited from it with few of the LLCs he's owned at the time. And ironically, you know, the people he represents are some of the poorest folks in the United States. So, the fuck. Now moving on to 2019, when Jason started, decided it was a good idea to showcase his impecunious character trait when he... Jesus Christ, come on, Jojo, you're making me look bad over here. I fucking can't read English. Stop it. His impecunious character trait when he told Tony Cardenas, I got that, U.S. Rep of California, by telling the poor man to go back to Puerto Rico. Fuck me, Jesus Christ. That kind of indignant behavior is unacceptable from any congressional member, even more so from the state of Missouri. We know better and believe in manners in District 8. And while Jason had to go back and apologize for his comment and should have sunk his career, but 2016, 2020 was different. It's a different way. She says it was a different political climate than what folks were used to, and that's for goddamn sure. Between the bewilderment and the shell shock that came from how widely sociably acceptable for the people to speak to others like that, it became the norm. Thankfully, folks are going back to the world of being civil and actual discourse without the childish banter, except for the few still in moleg that lack the ability to be adults. But I digress, as that's a topic for another day. This climate leads us to the tragic events of January 6th and Jason's role in that historic event. Now we have all different opinions on whether January 6th was a protest that turned from a riot to a full-scale insurrection. We can all agree it shook our little republic, the foundation of our democracy, to its core. What doesn't change is that Jason was willing to take part in the burning of our 234-year-old Constitution to the ground. Of course, Josh Hawley's actions that are more on the spot, but make no mistake that Jason left his footprint on that historical day. Jason stood outside with the folks intending to overthrow our government, but he signed the amicus brief, a lawsuit to contest the election results. Naturally, Jason was reprimanded by the Speaker of the House because his oath to the Constitution and not the hooligans that stormed the Capitol. This is a stain that can never be removed from his record, nor can he backpedal to deny his intentions. Now, I would disagree with that, especially after seeing the Marjorie Taylor Greene, her comments during the debate. Their voters don't give a shit. That may be a point of content between me and Jojo, is that I think that while folks like me and her can see this and be like, look, bro, you got to be fucking held accountable, especially when it comes to the ballot box. People who are going to vote for Jason Smith do not give a shit. All he's got to do is lie his ass off and they'll fucking love it. They eat dog shit for breakfast. They have for years. I mean, how do you go from the Tea Party to, the MAGA fascists? It's baby steps, folks. That's what brought your boy Chainsaw out. I was just perfectly content, sitting around looking at my Weeble being like, I hope the little red number goes green. When it goes green, I'm going to hit the little blue button. But look at me now. Jesus Christ. I'm losing fucking organs, and sleep, talking about this bullshit. And good for it. I mean, I think that a lot more folks maybe could learn from the MAGA party and maybe get involved more in local politics, which again, I've said countless times, on the regular show that, this year I've seen more people running for local office than I think I've ever seen, that are running on the blue team ticket than I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And certainly the vast majority of them, that long ass live stream we did, is testament to it in itself, the vast majority of which are women. So I think that really says something about where folks are and where our motivations lie. The problem is, after 2022, MAG is going to catch up with this shit, and they're gonna catch on that the blue team is kind of following some of their strategies, and they're going to double down on this shit. They're obviously doubling down on the fash. It's getting more. The fash is getting louder. So, you know, anyway. I mean, if we look back at his stint in Moleg, we can see that he's all for bigger government, providing that it's his party that's in control of that form of government. One could argue that, as wild as that seems, that our U.S. rep was willing to watch our institution of democracy burn to the ground is not nearly as crazy as his unfounded comment about the 2021 vaccine mandates, where he claimed that Biden was going to send in troops to vaccinate us all KGB style. A prediction that never came to pass because most of us went and got our shots on our own because it's what good people do in times of the plague. And specifically in that part of the district, shit, they even made MSNBC. Rachel Maddow was talking about how folks were going to the hospital in West Plains, Missouri, and hiding their appointments and shit, like getting snuck in the back door and getting their shots and then walking out and being like, oh, I don't want the Fash clan to see me going and getting my vaccine. They might not invite me to their Fash Thanksgiving anymore. I can say this shit, okay? I fucking am from there. So, born and raised, went to fucking high school, got the fucking facial scars from getting the shit kicked out of me by some of the racist scumbags who are now involved in local government and whatnot. So, I could say that shit. Where the fuck am I at? However, it did stir up some folks that call themselves concerned parents in protests of truck convoys that proved to be more of a public nuisance rather than demonstrations of needing change in public policy. Since the coup failed, he's not been busy on Twitter and Fox News trying to stir up a hornet's nest with folks over CRT and how the IRS is going to go after everyone with their army of agents that are going to replace the retiring and new hires over the next 10 years. Oh, and how Biden's going to break the country with reckless spending. I could have swore that gas prices in southern Missouri just dropped like another 20 cents, like within the last couple of days. But, let's go, Brandon. Now that we can see how he behaves in action rather than inaction on the congressional floor of our district, let's take a look at his voting record. Of all the major bills that have been in the news that would have drastically improved the lives of the 735,051 people in District 8, he voted no. He voted against our vets more than once. When it came to the PACT Act, Jason said nay on capping the cost of insulin for folks. He denied District 8 the chance to better themselves by bringing in jobs opposing the CHIPS Act. Jason also told us that we nor our health didn't matter when he voted against having access to birth control. Then he very publicly told us he didn't deserve, that we didn't deserve to have the infrastructure, and that we must live with our potholes that are the size of the continent of Asia, crumbling bridges, and little access to the internet. And let me tell you about that internet right now. Hopefully it's not lagging. Looks like we've dropped some frames over the last 2 minutes and a few seconds. So, yeah. Luckily for us, other folks from around the country felt that we deserved to have our basic needs to be met. It's understandable to say that Jason thinks that he lives in aristocracy, and we're supposed to be just his mere serfs rather than understanding that we live in a free society. Ultimately, Jason's lack to be a leader or to give a damn about the district is supposed to govern, that he's supposed to govern, is a total reflection of his character and how he views us that live here. Maybe it's time to give Jason the message that he deserves to be better and won't tolerate his incompetence any longer. Now, we do have a choice, and a practical choice that that's running, named Randy McCallion. If you get a chance, y'all should check her out because she has some ideas and wants the job despite the mess Jason's left us in. Because it's bad here, and we need to change to preserve our little slice of heaven and our way of life. Much love and peace out, Jojo, and of course the citations. That's again, you could read all of her, throughout her, through the extent of her blog. I'll go ahead and create the link at the end of the stream. chainsawccc.com/Jojo. We'll give you access to her entire literary works here through her new blog. That's freaking awesome. No, I love it. I want to say that I either saw this one or another LT that she had put out 2 months ago, and similar, just absolutely breathtaking and a fucking wild takedown. Jason Smith. I mean, what else is there?